Hello everyone, my name is Tisha Plummer and today I'm presenting you with a presentation on drugs testing in sports. The current requirements and methods for drugs testing in sports need reviewing because more athletes are able to cheat their drugs tests. A revision is needed to strengthen the procedure of drugs testing in sports. Many sports organizations so far have policies that ban their drugs from being used by athletes, with penalties in place for those that break them. The ability for athletes to cheat drugs tests leaves the penalties with too many loopholes that all offenders can get around easily. Most doping tests in sports are viewed mostly during competition season than off season. It is shown that steroids are often used to build muscle in early months of training. In quotation, elite athletes must therefore be subjected to frequent out of competition testing, said Ross. Because of this and other instances, off-season testing has proven to have more cons than pros. In some cases, this leads to some in-season testing being compromised because of those results. The ability to detect testing cheaters is less effective, especially as most testing methods are not adhered to complicity. The World Anti-Doping Agency and other agencies of the sporting world need to support each other more effectively. The use of drugs to aid an athlete's success is always a topic that follows and dims the overall aura of victory for all parties involved. The World Anti-Doping Agency is hard-pressed to diminish this problem with so much miscommunication going on between them, athletes, and other stakeholders in sporting events. The working group pointed out that instead of WADA being recognized as the leader in the fight against doping in sports and supported by the stakeholders, some of which are self-interested or conflicted organizations, which leaves the authorities on anti-doping in sport divided and serious issues that need to be handled immediately and effectively. Due to this discrepancy, some have suggested that doping in sport should be allowed. In direct opposition to the stance of this essay, there is the stance that a separate event for those athletes that take performance enhancing drugs should be held. This would leave these athletes to participate in sport events where the rules were not in their favor and allow for an audience that would want to see scientifically enhanced athletes perform. The issue with this is that all foreign substances to the human body have potential to be harmful in some way to the subject. Even though the primary reason for anti-doping is that it goes against most sporting rules, another important facet is that discussed at length is the health and well-being of the athletes that dope. Many of these athletes are not educated enough on the risk that comes with the doping, and some young athletes may not be aware of the substance given to them by their training coach or other agents that are dependent on them to win. Policies need to be effective, realistically and not just theoretically. At the root of all these issues is the point that sports competition tests the natural talent and abilities of an athlete, and drugs used in sport diminish this. Excuse me. The scandal that surrounds sports doping are now prominent more than ever and affect not only athletes but also the entire team and their country. There have been talks to implement policies that would help to not only lessen cheating but severe a deterrent. One such theory is the use of biological passport for athletes. This is a good step in the right direction. It should be noted that quotation, while it makes sense to establish blood profiles that provide a baseline which to analyze subsequent drug tests, implementation is not so straightforward, said Enley. So where the previous policies put in place implementation of these ideas so that they can realistically cause positive change in a hurdle than inconstant in the efforts of anti-doping authorities. In closing, the overall use of drugs to enhance the ability or skills level of an athlete defeats the purpose of competition as it sets an uneven playing field for the athletes. Thanks so much for listening. Have a good day.